Welcome to the Flat Track Factory. We're here today visiting Wally Brown Racing, a relatively new AFT singles team. Last year they won their first race with rider Chad Coase. This year, with new rider Trent Lowe, they are about to embark on their sophomore season, and I expect some big results. Let's go in and take a look at what they're doing. I've been pitted next to them at a test and got to check them out. They do things a bit differently. Come on. Thanks for having us, Wally.
Glad to do it.
Yeah, great. Tell us about your first season with your AFT singles team.
Well, it was kind of interesting because we decided to start this team, and we're all we worked all winter, kind of got geared up, and the next thing you know, COVID hit, and so pretty much everything got shut down. So we were all pumped up to go racing and excited, and when COVID hit, we're like, man, we might not even race this year. So. The fact that we were able to even race was a huge that made my season, just the fact that we were able to actually go race. That's so I consider that a success right there.
I was going to ask what's the most rewarding. I figured the win would be, but maybe just racing was another one.
I mean, actually, it truly was just to be able to race, and I think believe it or not, the high for me was the first race of the year at Volusia, just because. We were a new team. It's our first time together, and the first night we finished second. I was like, wow. That to me was like really rewarding and exciting. And at that point, I'm hooked. Like this is, I'm in. Whatever it takes. I want to do this.
Yeah. You bet $20 on the blackjack table, and made $1,000. Now you're hooked, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So what was the biggest challenge?
The biggest challenge of flat track racing to me is the fact that the track is constantly changing. So, you go out for a session and you come in, you debrief with the rider, and you say, okay, I know I need to make these 3 changes and the bike's gonna be better. And the problem is, if the track stayed the same, you would be better. But in that 40 minutes, there's 3 other sessions out there and the track's completely different. So chasing the track conditions to me is the most challenging.
We could talk for probably 4 or 5 hours about your background in racing, and I think we'll just maybe touch on it a little bit here. You do quite a bit of racing and other forms, asphalt car stuff.
Yeah, so I grew up around motorcycles. That was kind of our family. My grandfather, my father, we were a motorcycle family, and as I was growing up, my dad was like, well, we're going to kind of get away from the motorcycles, because I think, he was worried about me wanting to race and how dangerous it was. So we kind of went to the car side. So we, at that point, when I was 12, 13 years old, I kind of got into the car side of things and car racing, and I was hooked, kind of didn't even think about motorcycles for several years, and, ended up moving down south eventually, working for race teams in NASCAR, and kind of, just kind of working my way through different jobs. But, there was always something about getting back to motorcycle racing and flat track, which from my, my childhood, that I wanted to get back involved.
Which track changes more throughout the night, the asphalt oval or the dirt oval?
Oh, without a doubt, the dirt oval. The asphalt, the temperature, the temperature changes and the grip level changes, but, it's not nearly as difficult as the dirt track.
I noticed that you're riding Suzukis. That's somewhat unusual in AFT currently. Tell us about how that happened.
Yeah, just kind of where I work, we just happen to have a motocross team that races Suzukis as well. So we do cars, and we had the Suzuki motorcycle motocross team, and I talked to my boss about, hey, I want to do this, and he's like, well, he kind of helped me out and kind of got me started on some bikes. And like I said, I wasn't in flat track for, I wasn't kind of involved or kind of up on it, so I was like, I had no idea no one was running Suzukis. I'm like, well, it's a bike, and everyone has a bike, and what's the difference? So we got these Suzukis, and I started doing some more research. I'm like, we are the only ones with this, so it was time we needed a rider, because we were going to win one race at the end of 2019, and luckily there was one guy out there that was riding Suzuki, and buddy of mine, Mike O'Neill, he knew the rider, Chad Coase, and I was like, hey, you want to ride my bike? It's a Suzuki, what you're racing? He's like, yeah, so we kind of went from there.
Yeah, well, it seems to work for you.
Yeah, we like it. I kind of like them.
I was pitted next to you at a test recently, and was checking out how you and your team work, and I noticed you do things a little differently on a lot of fronts, but in particular, what are you doing with the computer? Why do you look at the computer all the time?
Well, I think that, just from our racing backgrounds and kind of our education of what we've done, we're kind of a data-driven team, and we're kind of odd in the sense we have 3 engineers on our team, which is probably a little weird. But so, the fact that we haven't been doing this a long time, we're behind the 8 ball. We don't have the experience. So we decided we were going to try to run data on every test, every session, every practice we can, so we can try to make better decisions. And we're so far behind these other guys. We need the data to try to catch up and learn. So we're running data systems to just collect data and kind of get a notebook going.
Tell me about the team. You already mentioned that you have a couple of engineers on the team. You have flat track racers, car guys. Just give us a little rundown of who you brought in.
Yeah, so I've had a long-term relationship with Mike O'Neill. So he's engineer. He's flat track rider. He designs parts. He can do anything on our team we ask him. He's the only guy on our team that's actually ridden a flat track bike. So that's an invaluable resource, because he can relate to the rider. So that's a huge benefit for us. And he's been to most of the tracks where we don't even know where we're going half the time. So that's been a big help. Then a good friend of mine, Justin Langdon, he's kind of our crew chief, an engineer on the team that kind of makes all the decisions on the setups, and he manages all the EFI and all that kind of stuff. And I actually work with him on the NASCAR side, and he's a high level vehicle dynamic. So it's been helping us with that. And then we have Roger Purcell, who's kind of our lead mechanic and engine builder. He has another NASCAR guy. He's probably been in the sport for 35 years. Engine tuning, traveling on the road, mechanicking, wrenching, machinist. He can do anything. So he's another great asset. And then a childhood friend of mine, my neighbor growing up, George Sawyer, he kind of helps us out and kind of goes to all the races and does whatever it takes. So for me, it's great, because it's like, we started this team with nothing, and I get to be surrounded with people I like, friends, I consider friends, and we get to go have fun and race, so it's kind of awesome.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I like to watch all kinds of racing, and I've seen somebody who looked just like you on top of a NASCAR war wagon and won a race. Yeah,
I mean, like I said, I've done a lot of different jobs in NASCAR. I started sweeping the floors at Dave Marcus Racing back in 1996 or 97, and I was lucky enough that I had an engineering degree, and that's when engineering was starting to take off in the NASCAR world. So I was able to start using my engineering degree on some of these teams and kind of moved up through my ranks, move up through the ranks, and I was race engineers and engineering managers, and I've crew chiefed a few years here and there, and so when opportunities come, you have a crew chief that gets suspended or something like this, they'll call on me to help out and crew chief once in a while.
You have the availability probably to do any type of racing you want with your background and success, and yet I'll see you at one of our semi-pro flat track races. Why?
Yeah, I just love the flat track. It's just a great grassroots sports. The competition is just intense, and for me personally, I have so much respect for the riders and what they do, and I wish I could do it. You know, it's awesome to watch a rider, you know, sling a bike sideways on a half mile or even a short track bike or short track, and just it's just a lot of fun.
So, you know, to get really serious now, you've seen me ride. You know, it's the off season. I heard rumor you thinking about hiring me.
Well, I think you actually have that a little off. It was Mike, but it was Mike O'Neill. We basically had him signed up to ride for us this year, but unfortunately AFT passed a new rule that it's an age limit, so you can't. Anyone over 39 can't. So we'll kind
of. So I'll we'll talk off camera about that. I don't want to put you on the spot too much, but yeah, he wants me bad. Tell me about your favorite NASCAR track and then your favorite AFT track or flat track.
Yeah, there's a lot of great NASCAR tracks. I like the tracks that, you know, that highlight the drivers. You know, the ones that there's low grip. You know, there's slipping and sliding around. So that would have to be Darlington. And so I love Darlington, and also that was one of the races where I got called in the crew chief. We happened to win, so that's kind of how it holds a special, you know, special meaning to me. So I love that track.
How about in flat track? What tracks do you do?
Flat track, I really enjoyed going to Lima. I went to Lima for the first time a few years ago, and just standing outside the fence and having those bikes come around and just, you know, shooting the dirt up right against the fence wide open is something that everyone should experience. It's just a great track, and I would say right now that's my #1 track.
Tell us about the crossover. Like, for instance, when I raced the Twins class at Charlotte a couple of years ago, I'm standing in the pits, supposed to be racing, and I'm seeing, you know, Max Pappas walk by. I'm like, "You're Max Pappas! What are you doing here?" Yeah. You know, I was just kind of like a normal guy that really likes it. I see IndyCar drivers. You know, I see, you know, Cup guys and truck guys. Tell us about the crossover about that.
Well, I mean, I think racers are racers, right? Like, I think it doesn't matter if it's a motorcycle, a car, or a boat, or whatever. I think, you know, people are involved in racing, or they're highly competitive. They understand, you know, the risk. They understand how difficult it is, and I think that, you know, I think all types of racing are attractive. Like, when you're a racer, you just kind of attracted to all of it. And for me personally, the flat track, you know, I could see, you know, how those guys could get into it, because it's so much fun, and I would love to see more guys get involved in it. And I love what AFT is doing. You know, to try to get. I think that they should, you know, focus on running double headers with NASCAR or IndyCar or whatever, and, you know, try to get them all together.
I want to put you on the spot a little bit. What's harder to do the good, perfect lap time? Stock car or a flat track bike?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I think that for me, I've never ridden a flat track, just one time, so I can't answer.
I was there,
exactly.
so you've ridden. I know.
So, but I feel like that if you had any one of us, any kind of person, you could go to a stock car track and you could learn in a good car. By the end of the day, you could run some pretty good lap times. I'm not saying you can go race and be competitive and worry about tire fall off and do other things, but if you're in a perfect world, you can cut a good lap. I feel like. I think on the flat track, I think it's you're not going to do that in a day. Like, you're not just going to hop on a motorcycle and by the end of the day be ripping off lap times. So I would say the motorcycle.
Well, you know what I think the harder lap time to do is.
Yeah.
So I don't know. What do you think? Post down in the comments below. Which is harder to do? Good lap time in a race car or on a racing motorcycle? Wally, let's switch gears and talk about the history of your family. You may be new to the AFT paddock, but you're not new to flat track, and your family certainly isn't.
No, so my grandfather, his name was Wally Brown. He worked for the Indian Motorcycle Company in the early 30s and all the way through pretty much all the way till 1953 when they went out of business. He was the racing department manager. He was in charge of R&D. He was responsible for the last Indian chiefs that were ever built at the factory in 1953.
That's really cool.
So, you know, he did, you know, he raced, he hill climbed, he motorcycle poloed, which was kind of,
what?
Yeah, they used to have motorcycle polo, believe it or not. I have some pictures of that. So that was pretty wild back then. So he was diehard motorcycle. And then when Indian went out of business, he went to work for BSA. And then meanwhile, my dad was growing up. He started racing, and he ended up working for the BSA factory as well. So my family, they've done motorcycles pretty much. I've been around it my whole life. So.
Your father set a record on a BSA, a 24-hour record, right?
Yeah. So he worked for the BSA factory, and in 1969, BSA had a Rocket 3, what they call a Rocket 3, and part of the promotion for the bike was they wanted to go to Daytona and set a record, a speed record on the bike to run it 24 hours straight. So he was responsible for building the bikes and getting them ready. And then they had test riders. Von Duhamel was one of the riders, and they went out there and they beat the record for 24 hours straight of speed record at Daytona.
In the NASCAR paddock and in AFT, you're a little bit different. I know things have changed, but you're an engineer. Why engineering school?
Well, I think first and foremost, I wanted to race. So I have to give 100% credit to my mother on this one, because she was like, you're not racing unless you go to college. So I had to go to college, and I figured, well, what's going to help me most in racing? It was, engineering, I felt like at the time. So that's kind of why I did that.
Wally, you're not from the South. We're here, for those that don't know, we're in the greater Charlotte area. You're from Pennsylvania. Yeah. When did you come down? Why did you come down to this area?
Yeah, so actually I was born in Springfield, Mass, where Indian will start. So I was actually born in Springfield, Massachusetts, but then probably like 6 or 7 years old, we moved to Pennsylvania. And again, I was growing up racing dirt track cars and doing all that kind of stuff. And after I graduated college, I wanted to be in racing, and so at that point, for car racing and stock cars, you have to be in North Carolina. That's where it's at. So I kind of just packed up and moved down here, and the rest is history.
When I retired from racing as my first stint as a pro, then I went to college. My deal with the parents was a little different. I was allowed to race for 5 or 6 years, then I had to go to college.
Yeah.
So when I graduated college, I moved here, and I tried to get a job in NASCAR, and it didn't work very well. I had all these plans and explained why I would be a great asset to them, and then I found out just how hard it is to get into this sport. You mentioned you started doing what in NASCAR? Sweeping the floors?
Yeah, I think that's...
You're an engineer.
Yeah, but that's the thing. I was so young at that point that, you were willing to do any job. I actually slept on this couch at the shop for, 3 months until I found a place to live. So I think, when you're young, you don't have a lot of responsibility, and I wanted it so bad. So it was an easy, I was willing to take any job at that point and do whatever it took, and just work hard.
Could you tell us some of the teams you worked with and their drivers?
I've been fortunate enough to work with a lot of different teams, a lot of really good, talented drivers. I've worked with, like I said, I worked with Dave Marcus, Ken Schrader, Ryan Newman, Mark Martin, Carl Edwards, Matt Kenseth.
I've heard of these guys.
Yeah, more recently, Denny Hamlin, Kyle Busch, Martin Truex. The list goes on and on. Quite a few different drivers.
You're a competition director now for a big team. Did you ever expect to get this far?
No, it wasn't something that, I just sat down and said, this is what I want to do. I think that, at one point I just wanted to be a crew chief in the NASCAR, and I was able to do that for some time, but I didn't enjoy that as much as I thought I would. I like kind of, being more involved in all different aspects of it, from the people side to the engineering and everything else. So I kind of transformed and kind of made my way to more of a management role doing the competition side of things, which I really enjoyed. So I had no, it wasn't like an objective, but it kind of just worked out that way.
Can you tell us what you do just vaguely in your position?
So basically, where I work, we have 4 different teams, and so you have 4 crew chiefs and 4 teams. And my job is, as a competition director, is to make sure that the race teams get what they need. So, you have all these different departments. We have probably almost close to 500 employees where I work. So, we have to make sure that, there's someone that's always making sure that the race teams are getting what they need to go out there and win races. So, there's always going to be a problem, or there's something we need to work on. So I work with the different departments based off the feedback from the teams to get them what they need.
So you didn't have enough to do while you were awake, so you decided to start an AFT team.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, the timing of it might be questionable, but, you know, it's, like I said, there's something about, you know, I always wanted to be involved in motorcycles again, and I felt like, you know, why not? You know, this is just, you have to take chances, and you know, you have to do things that you're passionate about, and I sat down with my wife and we talked about it and decided to, you know, start a team.
You think you'll still be married in 5 years?
Yeah, I sure hope so. And I think that's one of the things about flat track that's so great too. I feel like it's a, you know, when I say it's grassroots, it's a fairly family oriented sport. You know, everyone is, you know, I feel like most of the people in the paddock are friends, and, you know, I think that part of this was, I felt like this was a way that we could spend time with my family and get them involved in doing this as well. And, you know, I think that's our plan, is to, you know, have the family go to the races and, you know, just kind of experience that together.
I'm going to try to get some scoop for you. Let's see how it goes. Wally, can you tell us anything that's going to happen next year with your team?
Well, with our team, we have exciting news. We just signed a new rider, Trent Lowe. He finished 5th in points last year, and he's been, you know, his speed has been picking up, and he's very consistent, and we're excited to have him. So he's actually, we just finished a bike up for him, and he's in Florida now. I think he's actually racing it this weekend. And then we're talking to someone else, rather not say at the moment, but we're...
Other than me.
Yeah. Well, you know, only because of the age thing. Otherwise, you were going to be a lock-in. But anyways, we're talking to, you know, a few riders. We're gonna probably do run a second bike at a handful of events this year, depending on the schedule and how it fits out.
What kind of sponsors have come on board to help you out?
Right now, that's kind of a big push for us. You know, we've been able to get some support from Suzuki. You know, mainly because we're the only Suzuki out there. But you know, we're trying to do a good job for them. So they, you know, we're talking to them about some support. And you know, I've had, through my, you know, experience in motorsports, you know, you have relationships through the way, and a lot of those people I've reached out to, and they're helping us with product and parts and pieces and things like that. So that's been a big help. You know, we got CNR radiators, Race Tech titanium. We're working with Z-Max lubricants. So we got a lot of things going on that, you know, we're putting together.
Are you thinking about 2022 already?
Right now, no. You know, obviously, you know, you start these teams and you want to keep building them. You know, I want to, you know, ultimately it'd be great to have like a Super Twins team, but you know, of course, again, like you said, it takes money to do that and sponsorship. So you know, we're kind of happy in the singles right now. We think we can, you know, we got to focus on that and, you know, be successful and, you know, try to show everyone what we can do.
What did I miss? What else do you want to talk about?
I don't know. I think that we should probably, one thing that we should talk about is the schedule.
Okay.
So, you know, last year, you know, typically you'd have a handful of mile racetracks, you'd have a handful of half miles, and you'd have a TT or two. So like, you know, here we are 1 year into this thing, we've run 1 mile race in our history of our team, but we've never run a TT, you know? So I think that, you know, we have, you know, you think, oh yeah, we got this figured out, but we only know half miles, or you know, or we went to one short track at Daytona, but like, you know, we're gonna have to, you know, I'm excited about the fact that, like, I mean, we might go to Peoria, right? I've never been there. It's huge history, right? Like all these different racetracks and challenges that we're up against. So I'm excited about that.
This channel has been a evolving thing for me. It's kind of almost difficult to figure out what I'm doing, but I know that many of you watch this and are looking for information on how to get started. Could you tell the viewers, encourage them, warn them, how do you start flat track racing?
Yeah, I mean, I think
at our local semi-pro level.
Yeah, I think that's like no different than, you know, how you get started in car racing or flat track or anything. I think that, you know, if you have a genuine interest, I think you just gotta, you know, the first thing you gotta start going to races, number one, and support the local series or the, you know, the local tracks, and kind of just start hanging out. And I can promise you there's going to be somebody there that needs a hand. There's probably a lot of the people by themselves, you know, so just, you know, if you want to get involved, you got to start helping somebody out and learning and, you know, hanging out and, you know, take it from there.
I've suggested before, let me know what you think. Find somebody, say hello,
Yeah.
grab a rag, and start cleaning a wheel.
Yeah, I definitely, and I think you'll find out that's another thing. I mean, everyone is usually very, very friendly and would love the help. So I think that you just got to do it.
All right. Well, there you go. Thank you so much for having us. That's just amazing.
Yeah, it's been fun. Thanks.
Yeah.
So if you enjoyed the video today, there's many more to watch. Just there's many more on this channel, and
Yeah. So YouTube's gonna pop up various videos around and the subscribe button. You know how that goes. Click the like button, share with your friends, and we'll see you back here soon.